Hello, welcome to my channel. I have been looking for Suzanne Marie Schultz, and she went missing December 1st, 1978, or 1979, like 5 or 6 months later in Tampa, Florida. She was 17 or 18 years old. Also, Sue or Susan, 5'6", 120 pounds. It says she was last seen leaving her home December 1978, but her exact missing date's unknown. She contacted her family July 1979 from Tampa, Florida, where she was believed to be staying with a male companion, and said she would return home. She failed to return home, and the vehicle in which she was traveling was later found abandoned in Chicago, Illinois. She's never been seen or heard from again. So you would think maybe they got a ride with somebody. Oh no, it would be his vehicle maybe. You would think maybe they picked up a hitchhiker or somebody, stole the car or something, went to Chicago, took their car. Stephen Craig Lund, August 4th, 1979, missing from Tampa, Florida. 32 years old. 5'7" to 5'8". Stephen Lund was last known to be living in Tampa, Florida. He told his family in Illinois he would be home on July 4th, 1979, but never arrived. So maybe he was from Chicago, Illinois. So why didn't he arrive? He was believed to be with Suzanne Schultz, who is also missing. Suzanne told her family she would be home on August 4th, 1979. They never arrived to their destinations. They've never been seen since. Her U-Haul trailer was located abandoned in Chicago, September 1979. Isn't that strange? Okay, and he had black hair, and he had a class ring. So, and a tattoo of a bulldog, and a tattoo of an 8-ball, and a tattoo of a skunk. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? I don't know why. I have to look that up later. Okay. Okay, so then I saw this and I thought, well, this, maybe it's iffy. But there was a body found April 3rd, 1981. When were they last heard from? Yeah, that could be Weeki Wachee, Florida. They can't give you an estimated height or weight. Died 1975 to 1981. And I would think it would have to be a couple that went missing together, right? Because they were found. The victim was commingled with another victim found at the property. Head not recovered, torso not recovered. One or both limbs or hands not recovered, partial skeleton only. Okay, so then there was also a male found, and in the same area. So they were found commingled with another homicide victim. 4 other victims were found on the same property. So I don't know if it could be them, because it's odd that the vehicles were found in Chicago. And I can't see their killer traveling all the way to Chicago to get rid of the vehicle there. But I don't know. So there's Susan Marie Schultz. If you have any information, please contact authorities. She was 17 years old. And I'm not sure where she lived. I'm not sure where her family lived. I don't know if her family lived in Illinois or not. So, and there's his information. Okay, so then we have this unidentified female. And they don't know who she is. And she was also found in that area. So 5'4" to 5'6", age 20 to 30. Estimated death 2 years, 1978 to 1980. She was one of 4 descendants found in 1881. They were all found on the same property. And they haven't been able to identify her yet. So, and there's a picture. And there's another picture. And we have Patricia Elaine Action. She went missing in Clearwater, Florida. May 26, 1978. So I thought maybe that could be her. 5'4". She was last seen at the Ramada Inn Lounge, Clearwater, Florida. She was having a drink with coworkers. She left the lounge around midnight in her Chevy Chevelle. Her parents reported her missing when she was not home the next morning. Her car was found abandoned on US 19 in the parking lot of a Days Inn motel in Tarpon Springs on June 1st, 1978. Blood was spattered on the front seat and inside the car. The blood was type O. The keys to the car were not found. Patricia's shoes were in the car. Patricia Actions attended Stetson University in Sanford. While an undergraduate, she got married. At the time of her disappearance, a divorce was ongoing. She was forced to drop out of the university because of illness. She had returned to Tarpon Springs 6 weeks before her disappearance to stay with her parents. At the time of her disappearance, she worked as a waitress at the Kapok Tree Inn in Clearwater. So, and there's some more information as well. So if you have any information, please contact authorities and let them know. We have Leanne Colleen Huffman, went missing from Tampa, Florida, June 5th, 1978. 5'6", 130 pounds. Her vehicle was located at the Holiday Inn within city limits 3 days after she went missing. She left her residence in her vehicle. She was not seen or heard from since. So, I don't know. And Mary Michelle Sprague, missing since September 11th, 1979, Daytona Beach, Florida, 19 years old, 5'6" to 5'8", last seen leaving a nightclub where she worked. Yeah. Brown hair, blue eyes. I guess that picture's not any bigger. So, right there. That could be her, couldn't it? Wow, that really does look like her, doesn't it? I don't know about that one, but that could be her. Or it kind of looks like her as well, but I really thought it looked like Patricia, but now that I'm looking at Mary Michelle Sprague, it really looks a lot like her, so I don't know. Okay, so then we have Sharon Ann Hare, went missing from St. Petersburg, Florida, November 26, 1979, 5'4", 98 pounds, very tiny. She was last seen Monday, November 26, 1979, at an after-hours club. She was last seen getting into a Cadillac, leaving this club with an identified male. A friend reported speaking to her on the telephone 2 days later when she requested a ride from an unknown location in Tampa. Prior to her disappearance, she worked at the Phantasm Club in St. Petersburg as a waitress. And they don't know what happened to her. Susan Elaine Hallowell. See, it looks like it could be different people. From Melbourne, Florida, April 1st, 1980, 5'3", 5'4". Last seen leaving her mother's residence, brown hair, brown eyes, and they don't know what happened to her. So, and then we have Diane Roebuck, Miami, Florida, 22 years old, 5'5" to 5'7". Well, they really have their work cut out for them trying to figure out who that is. Mrs. Diane Roebuck and her male boating companion were last seen at her residence. They may have launched their boats from Port Everglades. Neither of them have been seen or heard from again. The boating trip was supposed to be a round trip. 2 days, the excursion, their destination was unknown, possibly the Bahamas. So I would guess that something happened with their boat, and I really wouldn't think that would be her then. Cynthia Campbell Woolard, North Fort Myers, Florida, 5'2", 5'4", February 1st, 1979. Last seen at a bar. Left her paycheck and purse at her home. She was studying to be a nurse. She had been fighting with her husband, Roger, at the time of her disappearance. Seems like there's a lot of them that go missing from a bar or their vehicles found at a motel. So, doesn't it kind of sound like there's a serial killer or two or something? But you never know. Kimberly Ray Doss, 1979, Jackson, Florida, 16 years old. $5'4", 140 pounds. Last seen in Jackson, Florida, visiting with a relative. She has pierced ears. Her nicknames are Kim and Kimmy. Wow, that doesn't give you much information, does it? Barbara Ann Bockwith, Pensacola, Florida, 1979. $5'4", 115 pounds. She was an accounting major, left home for class at the University of West Florida, but never arrived. Brown hair, blue eyes. Car was found at the airport a week after she disappeared. So whoever killed her put her car at the airport, I guess. Peggy Leslie McDaniel from Pompano Beach, Florida, 17 years old, 5'6" to 5'8", about 115, 120 pounds. Disappeared with her twin sister Patty. They went to a disco by the name The Plank. A person they were known to be with was found deceased in the trunk of a car 4 days later. Neither her nor her sister have been seen since. September 15th in 1979. Wow. That's scary, crazy. So then, these bodies that were found, this female, this male, and this, where is it? This one, this unidentified female, and this unidentified male, and this unidentified female. Well, they were all found. It says, Wikipedia, Billy Mansfield, William Mansfield Jr., born 1956, is an American serial killer, child molester, and sex offender responsible for the murders of at least 5 women and girls between 1975 and 1980. He buried the bodies of 4 of the victims at the family home in Spring Hill, Florida, and later traveled with his brother to California, where he raped and strangled a Watsonville woman. He was convicted of the latter homicide and later pleaded guilty to the previous murders to avoid the death penalty in Florida, receiving 4 life sentences. And there's an interview with, I believe it's his son, and his son was talking to him in prison, and he was saying that he didn't do it. His brother Gary, I think his brother's name was Gary or something, did it. So, and his son believes, his son was little when his dad, I think, got arrested, but his son was saying something like, well, you think if they killed one person, why would they stop at one person? And then if you think they killed 4 or 5 or 6 people, what makes you think they stopped just because that's the bodies that you found. What makes you think they stopped there? And he was, I don't know how old he was when he got arrested. He was born in 1956. So, and was he arrested in 1981 or something like that? So, 56, 66, 76. Okay, so he was probably around 20 years old. That's crazy. He was the eldest in a family of 5 children. His father, William Sr., was a convicted child molester who had served sentences in both Michigan and Nevada. So that makes you wonder if his dad didn't molest him as well. And if his dad didn't molest him and his brother, maybe that, some people think they molest people and they don't realize the consequences of what's going to happen. And then they end up becoming murderers and they molest people and they kill them and stuff. So despite this, the younger Mansfield claimed that he had a good upbringing and got along with his family. But that changed when he was 14, when he dropped out of school and altered his birth certificate so he could serve in the Army. He became an alcoholic, began experimenting with drugs. His addiction, he was sentenced to the Veterans Hospital in 1978, 1980. In 1975, he married, had 2 children, divorced in 1979. His ex-wife decided to stay in Grand Rapids with the kids. According to filmmaker Billy, a closeted bisexual, often brought men from gay bars home and had sex with them in front of her, and one time discussed a murder with her. So I wonder if he killed gay men as well, or boys. There was a couple of boys that went missing as well. She described him as easygoing but very violent when drunk. On New Year's Eve, 1975, a 15-year-old girl from Parkman, Ohio, named Elaine Lewis Ziegler, went missing from a KO campground near Brooksville. She was on vacation with her mother and stepfather and was last seen going to the camp showers. And you can read more about it. So they thought maybe she ran away. They couldn't find her. And then her parents returned home without her. On July 31st, 1977, Billy pleaded guilty to a sexual misconduct charge against a babysitter in Grand Rapids, receiving 6 months imprisonment and 36 months probation. Not long after leaving jail, he assaulted 2 teenagers in a rural area of the city and was sent back to prison for violating his parole. He shared a cell with someone else who confided that he had murdered an 11-year-old named Linda Vanderveen. Using this information, Billy testified against Lee in exchange for a lesser sentence and was released from jail a year after. June 19, 1980, he forced an 18-year-old Pamela Sherrill into his van and drove to a rented trailer where he hit her, cutting her lip, bruising her neck. She reported the incident, but when they went to arrest him, he wasn't there. November 23rd, he was arrested in Santa Cruz, but posted bail and was set free again. December 7, 1980, the half-naked body of 29-year-old Renee Selling was found at a drainage ditch at the side of Buena Vista Road in Watsonville, California, by passing motorists. A mother of 3, Renee had been last seen by her husband. Her clothes were torn apart. Her blouse and pants were lowered. They ruled her death of strangulation. Billy and his 23-year-old brother Gary, so he was 23, were arrested by a rookie police officer in Nevada for questioning in Selling's murder. The 2 men lied about their identities and ages, but the officer noticed that their physical description matched the Mansfield brothers and took them into custody. The 2 brothers were arraigned at a Watsonville court on murder charges concerning Selling's death. They were dubbed the Bag Brothers due to the fact that they wore paper bags over their heads to protect the testimonies of any potential witnesses. They pleaded not guilty. They were ordered to stand trial. Let's see, mid-March, Sheriff's Department obtained a search warrant to excavate the Mansfield property. Based on information provided by an informant who claimed that there was a body underneath the property, the authorities searched and dug through the area until they located a skull and bones in a shallow grave covered with a blanket. Unsure if the bones were Ziegler's, they were sent for examination. They belonged to a female under 20 years old. So then they began checking for more bodies. So the body was later tentatively identified as that of missing Ziegler based on the skeleton's description, skull and missing tooth. Jewelry was also located, but the chalkers didn't recognize it as belonging to her. So then there was some continuous excavations with varying success, and they found bones of chickens and cows. A small sack of human bones were found underneath the fireplace. They kept digging and plowing. The water pipes and electrical wiring installed over the bodies. 3 more skeletons were unearthed, all belonging to young women. Jane Doe, found March 24th. She was initially thought to be less than 13 years old. Teresa Fillingham, described as a white female. She might have been the 21-year-old. They thought she might have been the 21-year-old Melinda Harder, who had gone missing St. Petersburg, 1980, but it was ruled out when Harder's remains were identified in 2008. She was finally identified July 2022. The 16-year-old had been reported May 16th, 1980. So they were still killing May 16th, 1980. Sandra Jean Graham, a Tampa native and employee of a community college, last seen in the parking lot of Pam's Liquor Lounge. Accompanied a man described as a biker. She had left her cigarettes, car keys, and eyeglasses at the bar, and they found her body. So the skulls of 2 Jane Does were later sent for reconstruction. Let's see. No positive matches. Teresa Fillingham was not identified until July 2022. The remaining Jane Doe remains unidentified. Mansfield is also briefly considered a suspect in the murders of 19-year-old Cynthia Clements, 19-year-old Elizabeth Margaret Graham, and 18-year-old Carol Ann Barrett, all of whom were killed in a similar manner. James Winkles would later be convicted of Graham homicide and remains a suspect in the Clements murder. So, and there's more information. It talks about October 27, 1981. Billy unchained himself at the recreation yard and climbed the roof together with Berrigan and jumped to the ground and fled. However, they were spotted by a woman. So they were successfully returned to jail. So, and there's more information, but this has been kind of long, and there's some pictures when I did a search. It's just really, really sad. So then, there's no telling how many people they killed. And I thought I would go and look, at some of the people that were missing, at that time. Some of them, because this is just some of them that are on the Doe Network with pictures that were missing at the time. So then you got to wonder, how many people could they have killed, and when did they start, right? Because you don't know. And then we'll go, to the males and Florida. Florida, okay. There's a 13-year-old boy that went missing. There's a 12-year-old boy that went missing. So, you just really don't know. Anyway, if you have any information about any of these cases and who they might be, what might have happened to some of these people, please contact authorities and let them know. Even if you feel like, hey, I gave that information to someone years ago, maybe it's a new investigator, maybe they don't have that information anymore. Because, some people used to remember the information. Some people used to write it down. Then we had the floppy disks. Well, before the floppy disk, we had the word processors, and we had the floppy disks. And then we had computer crashes and things like that. So, like I said, if you have any information, even if you feel like you've given it to authorities before and it's been years, or you've heard information from relatives, or you've spoken to people at the bar that have given you information, you feel like, oh, it may not be relevant, you're not sure if it's true, just give the information to authorities and let them make notes of it. And please feel free to leave comments. And thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great day. Bye-bye.